Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 28th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. From police reform to infrastructure to immigration, President Joe Biden is set to unveil more of his agenda before Congress. Biden has now been in office 100 days, and although he's had his hands full with the pandemic, he says more needs to be done, including free child care and college. Isabel Rosales has more on the president's big speech.
As he addresses a joint session of Congress, President Biden is expected to express empathy for the lives lost during the COVID pandemic, while also sharing a message of optimism for the future.
You're going to hear him talk about his vision for the country tonight.
A vision that includes a massive jobs and infrastructure plan, as well as a proposal to make federal investments in education, childcare, and paid family leave.
These are really critical investments, and the president believes we have an opportunity right now to come together.
But Republicans feel the president's priorities are too progressive and too costly.
I think you can sum up the speech that we're going to hear tonight in 3 words: boring but radical. This is not a moderate agenda. This is not a unity agenda. This is a radical agenda.
Republican Senator Tim Scott will give the Republican rebuttal after President Biden's speech.
He promised that his whole soul was committed to uniting our people. Many hoped his administration would reflect that promise, but the first 100 days have left much to be desired.
A partisan divide is expected. This address to Congress will look anything but typical. The audience will be limited due to pandemic precautions, and security will be tight due to lingering concerns after the Capitol attack. Also, for the first time in history, 2 women, Vice President Kamala Harris and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, will be behind the president.
It's all wonderful to make history. It's about time.
In Washington, I'm Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
And KPBS will have live coverage of President Biden's speech to Congress. PBS NewsHour will begin its live coverage at 6 p.m. We'll also carry the speech live on KPBS FM, and you can stream it on our homepage, kpbs.org. We'll also have the Republican response and analysis following both speeches. Right now, a protest is just getting underway in Escondido, 1 week after a deadly shooting by a police officer. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne is live outside Escondido City Hall. Tanya.
Thanks, Maya. We're here at Escondido City Hall, where protesters are still demanding the release of the body cam footage of the officer-involved shooting that happened last week. Only some details are known of the officer encounter that left 59-year-old Steve Olson dead. Leah Malave with We the People Escondido organized this protest.
Today we are still fighting for transparency with this case going on. We still haven't received any of the body cam footage, and they are saying that they are only going to release part of the footage, which isn't true transparency. We are also looking for the City Council to implement an oversight committee for the police here in Escondido, and for them to hopefully focus the budget more towards community care.
We did receive a statement by Escondido Police Department stating, by law we have 45 days to release video. As this is an active investigation, any release of video is coordinated through the investigators and DA. That being said, our chief has an interest in getting it out to the public in a timely manner. There is no definite timeline, but it's still anticipated to come out this week. And we will keep you updated when that footage is released. In Escondido, Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The San Diego County District Attorney's Office is ending all 20 gang injunctions in the county. It's something advocates for criminal justice reform have long called for. KPBS racial justice and equity reporter Christina Kim has more.
DA Summer Stephan acknowledged Tuesday that injunctions are, quote, not effective in protecting the public. Genevieve Jones-Wright, a member of San Diego's Commission on Gang Prevention and Intervention, is happy that the injunctions are gone, but says that Stephan shouldn't get much credit for doing something that should have been done a long time ago.
This could have been done years ago. This should have been done years ago. And those same officials that we see touting the elimination of gang injunctions are the very same people who worked against that very effort. And I think is disingenuous.
Jones-Wright, who ran for DA against Stephan in 2018, also wishes community efforts to create change had been highlighted in Stephan's announcement.
And so going forward, elected officials, public officials have got to include the community and be very honest and say, I've changed my mind. I now stand with you, but thank you for doing the work to educate me. That wasn't done here. It seems to never happen, but it needs to start happening.
Gang injunctions are orders that restrict the activities of alleged gang members in specific neighborhoods. Historically, prosecutors and police have said they are useful crime-fighting tools. But in practice, they have unfairly targeted Black and brown communities and divided families.
There are certainly racist motives behind these gang injunctions and the neighborhoods that are subject to them.
In her statement, DA Stephan says she consulted with police departments across the region, including Oceanside. Tom Bussey, a spokesperson for the Oceanside Police and retired sergeant, once supported injunctions, but now says they make it difficult for officers to establish positive relationships in the neighborhoods they serve.
By taking this away, it kind of helps us create more trust in the community, I think. And I think, and nowadays that's pretty much what we're looking for, is to build that trust within our community.
The district attorney's office and San Diego City Attorney Office have slowly been removing hundreds of names off the injunction list over the past few years. Yesterday's announcement will officially remove the last remaining 349 individuals. Christina Kim, KPBS News.
San Diego's East County has become the dumping ground for sexually violent predators. That charge today from District 2 Supervisor Joel Anderson, who represents the district. KPBS reporter John Carroll says neighbors in the area are joining Anderson's call for change.
On a sunny spring day in El Cajon's Wells Park, a call for equity from Supervisor Joel Anderson. Equity when it comes to the placement of sexually violent predators who've done their time and now must be released.
My citizens, our neighbors, have the right to the same level of safety as anybody does in any other rich neighborhood.
Instead, Anderson says 31% of sexually violent predators are released into group homes in the East County. This chart from Anderson's office shows what he says is the breakdown: the most in District 2, the least in District 3, which encompasses some of the county's wealthiest neighborhoods.
They have selected a home not for one, but for two sexually violent predators in the middle of a family-friendly neighborhood.
This is the home Kathleen Hedberg is talking about on Horizon Hills Drive. Signs around the neighborhood say the company that contracts with the state to manage it, Liberty Healthcare, wants to put Douglas Badger and Merle Wakefield here. Both are convicted sex offenders. Hedberg says the State Department of Hospitals isn't following the law, nor, she says, is Liberty Healthcare.
The proposed placement on Horizon Hills is a neighborhood with 89 children within 2,000 feet of the property.
Liberty Healthcare's phone number is on a flyer outside the home. We called to get a comment. I'm wondering if you have anyone that's available to talk about the upset among neighbors in the Mount Helix neighborhood about the house that's going to be...
No, I'm sorry.
The person who answered the phone directed us to the California Department of State Hospitals. They asked us to submit questions in writing. We have, and as of the time this story went into edit, we're waiting for a response. Supervisor Anderson says the county can take a big step in the right direction by reconvening the Sex Offender Management Council, which hasn't met since 2019. This story is far from over, and you can see why on these signs throughout the neighborhood. A virtual court hearing coming up in Superior Court on May 10th, that's a Monday. Everyone in the neighborhood is being urged to attend. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A COVID-19 milestone. 1 million San Diego County residents are now fully vaccinated. But KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says vaccine demand is waning and officials are getting creative.
The fact that we've reached over 1 million vaccinations is a Herculean feat.
Progress on the vaccination front, but at the same time, County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says for the first time, demand for vaccinations is now falling, bringing us to a sort of crossroads.
Things are not going to stay constant. So as the temperament of the general public changes, our strategies must change.
County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says health officials are now stepping up outreach efforts.
We're ramping up all of our engagement with various sectors.
Officials are trying to make it easier to get vaccinated, not requiring appointments at some sites, working to extend hours at locations to 8 p.m., and the possibility of a 24-hour site for those who cannot get vaccinated during the day.
We always knew at some point we would, the folks very motivated would get it. We think there's still plenty of San Diegans who are open and willing to get a vaccine. We just have to work a little bit harder to make it a little bit easier to access.
Overall, San Diego County is about halfway toward its goal of having 75% of residents 16 and over fully vaccinated by mid-July.
That goal population is just for the 16 years of age and older. We will have to readjust and modify that when vaccine is available for the population of 12 to 15 years of age.
Officials have also aligned local health orders with new CDC guidance that says those vaccinated do not need to wear masks outside unless in large crowds. And today in Mission Beach, we saw lots of people without face coverings and some that still had them.
This is the guidance that's out there, and we trust that the overwhelming majority of folks will follow it. Look, I get there's a little frustration. Folks are like, I got vaccinated. Why do I still need to wear my mask at all?
Outreach efforts for youth are also being increased too. And Supervisor Nora Vargas says pilot programs that help vaccinate hard-hit South Bay communities are now being implemented in the North County.
We're going to continue to ask all of you to share with your family and friends. Ask them to get their vaccines.
At the county's 20 or so vaccination sites, there are now a limited number of doses set aside each day for walk-ups, but other sites like superstations and healthcare providers are still requiring appointments. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And you can follow the county's progress toward herd immunity and find a vaccine location close to you at kpbs.org. Just click on the vaccines link that you can find on our homepage. A way to help San Diegans in the LGBTQ community feel safe and supported. Businesses and the SDPD are teaming up on what's being called the Safe Place program. The program has participating businesses put visible stickers up in their storefront. Those identify them as places victims of hate crimes can go for safe haven and to get help from the authorities. The police department's LGBTQ liaison says she knows firsthand how important it is for the community to have spaces like the one at Urban Mo's in Hillcrest.
I came in here, I felt welcomed, respected, and safe. And so it only made sense to bring this sticker to this business. So that way, other members of the community, much like myself who've experienced the same, when they're in spaces like that, automatically feel safe and can know that they can call the San Diego Police Department.
The program is starting in Hillcrest, North Park, and other nearby neighborhoods. And for now, it's geared toward the LGBTQ community, but is expected to expand in the months ahead to provide resources to the AAPI community as well. A decade after Don't Ask, Don't Tell ended, one of naval aviation's few openly gay pilots is on his way out. The Marine substantiated his claims of harassment after an incident following a West Coast Marine Corps ball. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh tells us why it wasn't enough to save his career.
For most of his 6 years in the Navy, Lieutenant Adam Adamski says he felt supported as an openly gay pilot. He can tell you when that changed.
In November of 2019.
Adamski is a helicopter pilot for a Navy search and rescue squadron. Adamski was invited to a West Coast Marine Corps birthday ball at a local casino. He came back to the hotel room where the Marines had been holding an after party.
When I walked into the door, I knew something wasn't right because the TV in that suite had been moved like on the pivot to face the doorway, and I saw my dress whites draped over and around the TV, and there was hardcore gay porn playing.
His uniform was wrapped around a TV playing pornography. It didn't feel like a harmless prank. It felt like something else. Some of the other Marines in the squadron wanted to find those responsible, but Adamski says he was getting ready for his first deployment as a pilot. He wanted to shrug it off and let the matter go. But word had spread.
I had received numerous calls from people that are in the closet in that squadron, both men and women, and openly gay service members, telling me that they are upset and that they don't think the climate is a good climate in that squadron, and they think I should report it.
The Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy ended a decade ago, allowing LGBT service members to serve openly. But a study in the Journal of Sexuality Research and Social Policy found 59% of service members still didn't feel comfortable coming out to their peers. Sasha Bookert is a former Marine and an attorney with the civil rights organization Lambda Legal. She says changing the law didn't change the culture.
It's one thing to have Don't Ask, Don't Tell removed. It's another thing to have a culture where people can feel safe, being who they are and not have to worry about, being discriminated against or harassed.
18 months after Adamski reported the incident, he still hasn't received final word on his case. His version of events has been substantiated by the squadron commander in charge of the 3 Marines found culpable. Initially, the squadron commander even offered to pull their pilot's wings for the incident. Adamski thought that was too severe.
I want an in-person apology, and from all 3 of them. I want a meeting to which they're there and I can talk to them.
He also wanted something on their permanent record. The incident continued to eat at Adamski. He was in a serious relationship with an Air Force pilot who was talking about coming out of the closet. They broke up after he saw Adamski's experience.
I lost a lot. I'm not happy. I no longer feel like I am an effective leader, an officer, a pilot, and I don't feel a part of the military anymore.
Adamski has been called into the headquarters for Naval Air Command more than once to address his decision to speak publicly about his case. Major Alex Lim, spokesman for the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, says the Marines initially acted quickly on his complaint.
Service member, Marine, sailor in our units are treated in a culture of dignity and respect. We want to prohibit any type of activity where these individuals would be harassed.
Adamski stopped logging flight hours as his case dragged on. Last spring, he had a road accident that made it even tougher to qualify to fly. He was given an option as a Navy officer to retire. Adamski took it. In the next couple of months, his 6-year career as a Navy pilot will come to an end. But not his quest for some kind of recognition that what happened to him wasn't right.
Most people back down because of all this hassle, and I won't. And I'm not someone that will back down easily.
At this point, he says he has nothing left to lose. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
He made the Apollo moon landing in 1969 a possibility. Today, astronaut Michael Collins has died at the age of 90. He was the command module pilot of the legendary ship from which Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin made their famous first lunar landing. His family released a statement saying Collins died of cancer. Michael Collins entered the International Air and Space Hall of Fame here in San Diego in 1971. An abandoned theater in downtown San Diego is being redeveloped into apartments and a hotel. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the City Council gave the project final approval on Tuesday.
The California Theater at the corner of C Street and 4th Avenue has been vacant and deteriorating since 1990. Development firm Caden plans on tearing it down and building a high-rise with condos and a hotel. The theater's historic facade would also be reconstructed and incorporated into the building design. Critics, including the local hotel workers union, said the final project didn't have enough affordable housing, especially considering it sits right next to a trolley stop.
The opportunities for housing development this close to transit is extremely limited. We believe that working families who rely on public transit should have a greater stake than 7 affordable units out of 336 market rate condos.
Council members said they wish the project included more affordable homes, but they largely praised the project's blend of new development with historic preservation.
It provides much-needed investment and improvements to our C Street corridor. It'll activate and revitalize this downtown transit corridor that is used by our city employees, by our local workforce, downtown residents, and visitors to our great city.
The developers plan on saving as much of the building's original exterior as possible before demolition. Construction is expected to be completed as soon as 2023. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The southwesternmost campground in the continental U.S. is now open. KPBS reporter Melissa May shows us this unique 79-acre site and what campers can expect.
The Tijuana River Valley Regional Park Campground opened Wednesday in the South Bay, and it provides more than just 51 campsites.
Welcome you here today.
David Norgard, the Chief of Development for San Diego County, elaborated on the affordable yurts, which are modern versions of ancient, round, tent-like dwellings with doors, windows, bed frames, and space for 4 to 10 people. There is also a nature education center and
a bird and butterfly garden, community gardens, 5 ball fields, and 22.5 miles of hiking trails. This spot was chosen because it's the best location, it's unaffected by flooding, and unaffected by any of the other issues that are going on in the valley.
District 1 Supervisor Nora Vargas addressed the past issues with the area.
We've had a lot of challenges with our sewage and the contamination from Mexico, but this is one of the ways where we continue to highlight the beauty of this valley. And
Vargas says the soil has been tested and it is a safe campground for the community. Making the Tijuana River Valley Park into a destination has been a long-term goal for South Bay resident and former county supervisor Ron Roberts.
This is the only river valley that isn't bifurcated by freeways, by railroad tracks, by electrical lines, and it's probably one of the most pristine areas, even in spite of the sewage-related issues.
As part of the county's Live Well San Diego vision, this location gives people a new way to enjoy the outdoors, exercise, and have fun. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Meteorologist Chris Nallen with you. We're talking about plentiful sunshine as we head into your Thursday. Along with that, you'll note those temperatures will be also on the up and up, warmer than average, but more seasonable as we head into the weekend, especially by your Sunday. Cooler temperatures on the way, but not by much, just more seasonable. Into the upper 50s tonight with those clear skies all along the coast there for the metro. But areas further to the east, we're looking at some cool spots. How about Ramona falling back into the middle 40s? But hey, hang on, because we are going to talk about another warm-up in the making for Ramona as we go from the 40s to the low 90s. Yes, sunshine doing the job here for inland spots. Mount Laguna, you're staying cooler. Borrego Springs at 97. And then right along the coast, we'll be getting closer to the 80-degree mark. But heat is building with that area of high pressure just off the coast. What does that do? That drops in those temperatures to be on the hotter side when we have that sinking air. And it continues to be warm for pretty much the entire west. That's right into your Friday, where that high pressure is in place right over California. Well, 10 to 20 degrees above the norm. So very much on the warm side. The other concern, though, of course, is we've been so dry, especially across parts of California. Continued drought here with those record challenging temperatures. So taking you to the coast for the next few days, you can see those temperatures will be in the 70s, but by the weekend, we'll be cooling it down slightly. Again, that's more seasonable for Sunday for places like San Diego. Taking you further inland, temps will be in the 90s Thursday into Friday, but then note temperatures go to the mid-80s there on Saturday and then into the 70s by your Sunday. Mountain locations, hey, we're looking beautiful here, I think anyway. We'll see some sunshine, clouds mixed in more so as we head into the weekend. Temperatures are noticeably cooler though, low 60s Sunday into Monday with those overnight lows back into the 40s. Into the desert though, wow, 101 for your Friday, cooling on down for your Sunday. So touch cooler, but definitely feeling like summer here. For KPBS, I'm meteorologist Chris Nallen.
If you've spent the pandemic working from home, that might be changing soon. Mandy Gaither has tips on how to handle any anxious feelings or stress that may come with heading back to the office.
For more than a year, your work life may have looked a lot different during the pandemic.
The prospect for many people of going back into the office if they've been home for the better part of the year is really intimidating.
Kristen Carpenter, a psychologist at The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, says heading back to work may be hard on your mental health.
I think it's difficult for employees thinking about coming back into work, but it's also difficult for managers, for businesses, for employers to kind of figure out the logistics of this.
Carpenter says some people may still struggle with the uncertainty of the pandemic, fears of the virus, or simply seeing coworkers again after being isolated.
I think it makes a great deal of sense for people to start to understand their own needs, really take stock of how they're feeling, and to work with their managers, if they can, on a more flexible, gradual return.
Asking about the work safety protocols and knowing things won't look exactly the same as pre-pandemic can help, Carpenter says. And if you haven't been out much the past year, she says you should slowly and safely start doing so.
If it's really intimidating, do so in off hours when maybe the traffic won't be quite so high. You have an opportunity to explore and just be in the world again.
While it might seem daunting for some, Carpenter says going back to the office could be a good thing for many.
I think we're all looking forward to a little bit more normal.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
Some Disneyland employees got to visit the park ahead of its grand opening this weekend. Disneyland and California Adventure held soft openings for cast members and their families. Disneyland reopens to guests with reservations this Friday at only 25% capacity. Enhanced physical distancing will be in place and masks are required. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.